And welcome back to our Canaries Walk. It's episode 26. Lots of fans have had their say about that Swansea game. Mark says, more long ball play like this, please. Some cracking goals to talk about. But what did we all learn from the Swansea game? Was it that Swansea were that bad or were we that good? We'll get our fans' views on that in a second. How good was Mahovo debut? The transfer window closing this week. What do we expect to happen? And our fourth debate is, who is the worst ever defender you have seen in a Norwich City shirt? Thank you very much for joining us. This is 20 minutes of Norwich City chat. We've got our full team back with us this week. It's the wonders of what 3 points at home does for you. We're also talking very quickly about that Leeds result as well, and also checking in with these guys about their views on whether going up to the Premier League is worth it. Let's kick off, shall we? With where should we start? Let's start with Swansea then, shall we? Because it's fresh in our mind. Killian, the obvious question, was Swansea that bad or were Norwich that good?
I think Swansea quit after they were 3-1 down. I'd say 3-1 probably would have been a fairer result. They just gave up at that stage. I think they were decent enough at the start of the game. I mean, it was an evenly matched game. We were pretty poor, I thought, in the first half, but really, I thought we were pretty good in the second half. So.
I mean, presuming, it's good to see having some shots on goal, given what happened against in your previous two games, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it was quite large back, I think.
Sorry, I went jumping.
Yeah, it's good to see shots on target. I think we had 8 or so from 18 shots, I think. So, yeah, it's good to get those fired away.
Let's have a look at some takes, shall we, from the game. Orange Fever says, definitely think it was more of a bad performance from Swansea than a great performance from us. I won't go claiming we're back, but it's a brilliant way to gain that performance after not having a shot on target in the last two. Matty, who stood out for you in that Swansea win?
I thought Sargent did very well when he came on. Dobbin's obviously done well and got his goal, but you can't not talk about Sargent. The impact that he has, the confidence that we play with when he's playing, and obviously to get 2 goals. I would say it's like he's never been away, but by hell, we've missed him when he has been away. So, but it's lovely to see him back, and he's fantastic.
Yeah, we'll talk more about Sargent in a second. This was a starting lineup, Oliver, and the comments before the game went very much along the line of what Josh was saying there. Why the hell is Hernandez still starting? What's he done to annoy Norwich fans so much recently?
I don't think he's done much to annoy them, but he just hasn't really done a lot to sort of please them, I guess. Obviously hasn't scored at Carrow Road in a silly long time. He's just a quite pacey sort of run down the line, but his end product is absolutely appalling. When you have a young player like Sargent on the bench, it kind of makes you question why Hernandez is starting over him.
Okay. Before we'll come back to the Swansea game in a second. Let's talk about Leeds a second then, that's all right. Jacob, what was your assessment of the gap between you and supposedly the best team in the division?
Well, there's a lot to talk about, but I'm just going to point out our shots on target, how against Leeds we should be more clinical getting up and getting some goals maybe, but it just wasn't for us. To concede in 30 seconds is just a joke, but I mean, the way they played it was really good, and I expected 5 goals, but to have just 2 is, again, a surprise to me.
You expected 5 goals?
Yeah, to Leeds.
Presumably all to Leeds, though, yeah?
Yeah.
just to clear that up. Okay, let's talk about Sargent then, because there was we talked about him on here last week, of course. So we want to shout out when he's done well, Killian. For Dobbin's goal, I'm sure you will have noticed, it was picked up by many, that his movement to take the defenders away from that particular piece of play was intelligent football, and we'll come on to obviously his own goal in a second. You agree?
Yeah. Absolutely. I think he's got good movement. He's definitely got a lot of strength, and the way he's not afraid to push his weight around and move players out of the way. So I think he did really, really well. And it was interesting. I know we talked about him last week. I published some stuff on social about our chat last week, and I was asking about, did people think the supercomputer was right? But everybody caught on to the headline about Sargent, and there was a lot of fans coming to his defence, which I think was great to see. So.
Yeah, good. Yeah, and although we were having a mini go at him, Owen, I mean, when I heard that, I think I was watching the other games when I heard you scored another 2. I was genuinely hoping one of them was his, and of course it was. What did you make of his goal? You think the Swansea defender needs to get back to the gym?
Yeah, it's good strength from Sienats, but the defender has to do better. But to keep the ball, go around the keeper, it's solid from him.
Okay. What else did we learn, Matty, from the Swansea game?
I think it's a bit of an insight into what we might be like when we've got a few more other players back and up to sort of full fitness. Which I've mentioned Sargent. Not as big as fan, but Sorensen came back on yesterday. Some players you forget that even exist. Well, not exist, but play for you. So, and when you look at the injury list, and I saw a really interesting stat during the week about Nunez for Norwich in terms of his forward passes and chances created, and we massively miss him. So having Sarge back is kind of just that little glimpse of, and Cordoba came back as well. So yeah, having those 3 players going back, it kind of gives you a bit of an idea of what we've been missing and the strength or lack of strength and depth, I suppose, that we've missed. So yeah, I'm excited for the likes of Force and Slimani, Nunez to come back because we saw, to Killian's point, like Swansea weren't great. Let's not kid anyone. But we're sort of seeing glimpses of what might be achievable. Maybe not this season, but longer term with a good squad and a decent bit of depth.
Okay. If we look at the table then, Oliver, you sit now with 39 points in 11th at this time of recording, 5 points behind Middlesbrough in 6th. It seems like nobody wants this 5th and 6th place. I know there's lots to go yet, but are you in the playoff mix?
If we can stay consistent, I think, yeah, definitely. It's kind of crazy to me, honestly, how poor we've been, and we're still sort of in with a shout for playoffs. But look, I think if we build off this performance and win the next few, I think we could be well in there.
Yeah, we've already highlighted how some of your home fixtures are set up to kind of help that. Jacob, if you were in the playoffs and let's say, for example, that you did go up, would you even want to, given what's going on in the Premier League at the moment?
In the short term, I'd say yes, because it's something that we really want to go up after 3 seasons in the Championship. But in the long term, we'd all be depressed come a year after, getting thumped by Newcastle, City, Liverpool. So that's just what I'm going to say.
Yeah, let's just have a look at exactly what it is. I know this will cheer you up looking at this, but I mean, taking the Ipswich conversation out of this, Killian, is it not a bit depressing for the whole Championship in the last 2 seasons that the 3 that have gone up are the 3 that are coming down all the time?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely tough. And it certainly knocks the confidence to see your team losing week in, week out. So, I mean, I'd love us to see us get into the playoff places. I'm not 100% sure I'd want us to go up, apart from maybe the financial benefit of it. But I couldn't see us staying up in the short term.
Yeah, it would be catastrophic, wouldn't it, Owen, if somehow you managed it this time round?
Yeah.
Catastrophic's a big word, but I think something that we can aim for over a longer term would be more sustainable to keep us up in the Prem. Maybe it is just a few seasons too soon to go up now.
I mean, Norwich are the yo-yo side, aren't you, Matty? I mean, you and West Brom, you spent more times, you've had more relegations from the Premier League than any other side. So when you look at teams like Brentford and Forest and Fulham, and look at how they've managed it, what do you think is the blueprint for a club like yourselves now, not just to go up but to stay up?
A very wealthy owner or someone who's got decent funds to invest. I know we've obviously had the whole change with Dealey handing over the reins to Atanasio and his holding group, but even then I'm sceptical as to whether that level of investment would be there for us. Maybe put more in longer term, but if you look at, plucky little Bournemouth who've had billions, well, hundreds of millions pumped into them, have been owned by billionaires, and Brighton Tony Bloom's not short of cash. Very well run club. Brentford a similar sort of in terms of how well run the club is. So I think you've got to have a bit of a mix of good finances, good fortune, and just scouting really, really well. And that's something that we did for a decent spell, bringing in the likes of Pukki and Buendia, but Maddison before that. But it's a big gap in it, as that table's just showing. It's delightful seeing Ipswich there, but like you say, 2 seasons on the bounce to see the 3 that go up come straight back down. It's a bit. It's not great, is it? You want something different.
Absolutely. Okay. Jumping back to the Swansea game, one player we haven't spoken about yet, Oliver, is of course this gentleman, Mahovo. How did he do?
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was pretty solid. What you could expect from a young lad. I think there was one sort of mistake where he put out for a corner in the first half. But I mean, look, for a first game, I think it was quite a nice game for him to play, actually. And yeah, he put in a solid performance and looked like, he definitely is one for the future, perhaps. So yeah, it was good to see him out there.
Okay. Jacob, you agree?
Yeah, I think Mahovo did play really well. I think in the first half he caught out one of the Swansea defenders really well. Don't know if any of you remember that happened towards the snake pit, but he did play really well, and hopefully he can get in over Stacey at some point. Not to mention Stacey did play good as well.
Okay, right. Well, very happy Norwich City podcast for once. Not used to this. Let's change the tone a little bit, shall we? And talk about the transfer window then, because before we close this week, the window itself will snap shut. So let's have a look at how you've done. Dobbin, who scored a fine goal himself, of course, in that route, in from Villa on loan. Slimane from Sheffield United, and then as we've already reported, Hanley and Barnes out. Cillian, and any surprises on there? You expected to do a bit more than you have done, or not?
Well, we have our guy from the Czech Republic coming in February. He can't obviously get the work permit before then, so he'll be in. And I think there was hints at the press conference this week that there may be another, but who knows? Like Torop wasn't ruling it out.
Owen, what do you expect to happen by Friday?
I'm not sure what I expect to happen, but I'm hoping for a holding midfielder. We've been saying it since the start of the season, on and on. We've needed it for a few seasons, and it's still not come. Hopefully, in the last couple of days, we can get a deal over the line.
Okay, Matty?
I think we've been wanting a hold midfielder since Tete left, haven't we, really? Killian mentioned Jurasek coming in. That's nice. Technically, I suppose it is 3 signings. No, I'd agree with Owen, like a holding midfielder, and not a lone holding midfielder either. Like we've had flashes of what might be, but I'd like someone who's kind of going to take the baton from. I know Kenny's not an out-and-out holding midfielder, but someone who's sort of in there who will kind of come in at between 18 and 24 sort of thing, and challenge for places, and is a proper number 4. So I'd really like to see that, and I think it's credit to Hoftorp and Napa to get the moves, the likes of Ashnack, Barnes, and Hanley, because that's freed up a hell of a lot in terms of wage bill. Those 3 were all on, I think, 25 to 30k each. So that's absolutely crucial and was needed. But fair play to them for doing that.
Okay. All right. Cheers for that. Let us know what you think, of course, in the comments, who you're hoping for. And of course, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, press the subscribe button. We want to try and get to 100 subscribers by the end of the next month. Thank you for helping us do that. Lastly, then, we've been putting together the worst ever Norwich City 11. We're up to our back line this week. So far, we've put George Long in goal. Dermich and Wolfswinkel managed to get into our 2 striking roles last week. So we're looking for a back line of the worst defenders you've ever seen. So help us out with this, please. Put in the comments below what you think or who you think should go into this worst ever. It's because January is rubbish and we're having a little bit of fun. There's no malice intended here. We certainly don't hope to pick any of the current players, or I certainly hope this team don't, but we will see. Oliver, kick this off for us, please, with a nomination, just one.
I think at centre back I'll go for Ozan Kabak. Came for us on loan. How about Liverpool? It was just absolutely appalling in the Premier League. I've never seen anything like it. He used to dribble from in his own half, lose the ball, and we just concede to. I'll nominate Ozan Kabak.
Right. Okay, we've got a nomination for centre back. Jacob?
Considering we had 2 relegations, you'd think there's a lot to put on the list, but I've actually had a hard thought about this, and I couldn't name too many, but I will say Sam Byram. He hasn't been given a proper chance. He's been injured in and out, and I think he just fits the left back role.
Okay, it's a shout. Killian?
Yeah, I struggled also trying to think of one, but I went for James Husband, who was pushed out by Jamal Lewis, I think. But, just didn't call it for us.
Okay. All good shouts. We got a right back yet. We haven't got one. Hopefully, we can fill it in. Owen?
It's specific because they're not a bad midfielder, but centre-back version of Sorensen. That's what I'm going for.
All right. Matty, finish this off for us.
I put a lot of thought into this, I'm not going to lie. And I sort of scratched my brain and thought of all the old players that were in League One and the Championship in the days of Roda. I've got a list, to be honest. Helveg, Heckingbottom, Killian's point of James Husband. I'm absolutely having him nailed on at left back because he was appalling. We got Ignacio Miquel from Arsenal as a centre-back and about 10 years ago, and he looked like he'd won a raffle to be being played in Arsenal's academy. And I think Helveg was a right-back, so he might be a shout for right-back. I think there's a few harsh additions there as well, boys. But yeah, for me, the pick of them, Jonathan Grounds was another one in League One or the Championship, I can't remember. But the pick of them for me is James Husband. He was an absolutely, but I can't say what I think of him. But yeah, he wasn't great.
Okay. Right, we shall add all of that into the mix, and of course, next week we get to finish it off because we're looking for the least dynamic midfielders that we've ever seen for Norwich. I'm sure this lot can come up with this. Let us know yours as well, and then of course, the last bit that finishes off is appointing a captain and a manager, the worst manager that you've had at Norwich City in the last 20 or so years. Kept thinking on that one. Cheers very much. We really enjoyed making this stuff for you. So drop us a subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Thank you, you five. Enjoy the game this weekend. We'll see you in 7 days' time to review it all. Thanks for joining.